Hey everyone, this is Walter, and we're back here with something I should talk about more often. To Catch a Predator, or in this case, Hansen vs. Predator. The reboot we got about a decade after the original show aired. Let's just get started with the humiliation of the Undertaker Predator. I think it's important that we talk about Vincent Ambrosio, because the community seems pretty much in agreement that Chris Hansen's interview let him off too easy. This man had a very cringy and disgusting chat log that Chris never got to reading because Vincent was too busy crying about his depression and Adderall and being fat. People like to call Vincent the Undertaker Predator because of how he's dressed, but it's been pointed out that he actually looks a lot more like good old JR. Of course, I have nothing negative to say about JR, but it's a pretty bad sign that 19-year-old Vincent looks so much like a man that must have been 3 times his age. I'm going to tell his story and read a bunch of comments mocking him. He came out wearing Undertaker's clothes and Paul Bearer's chins. That probably isn't the end of the pro wrestling jokes today. Vincent was a 19-year-old high school dropout when he chatted up a 12-year-old girl named Jenna Claire. So when he got there, he tried to give her a hug, probably the second creepiest attempt from the investigation, right after John Dupuy. The decoy rejected him and he looked pretty dejected, like, oh no, even the 12-year-old I was talking to online won't touch me. Nice guys really do finish last. I'm sorry, the self-pity woe is me crap doesn't work on me. If that's the first thing you jump to when you're caught in a heinous act, absolutely not. This guy didn't care he was about to, in his mind, ruin a minor's life. I think this guy holds the record for the shortest amount of time before he was in tears, less than a minute after Chris walked in. I want to be a cop is a fucking wild statement after you just showed up to blank a blank-year-old's blank. Chris walks in on him by saying, hey Tex, one of his best entrances most likely. The following is from the TCAP wiki. Chris Hansen then confronted Ambrosio, who tearfully claimed that his life was in disarray due to academic failure, medication not working, and unemployment. He expressed a desire for friendship and claimed he did not intend to engage in illegal activities with the girl. Ambrosio also desired to become a police officer but felt hindered by his weight. Despite Hansen's sympathy towards Ambrosio's situation, he stated he could not understand his attempt to have sexual contact with an underage girl. After Hansen confronted Ambrosio, he tried to alleviate the tension by telling him that his father was overweight. I don't want to get up. I don't want to get out of bed. Okay, but you somehow found a way to get up out of bed, put that goofy-ass outfit on, and drive over an hour to sleep with a teenager. Something is askew. I have to remind myself what guys like this were intending to do. It's easy to feel sorry for some young guy who's basically destroyed his life until you remember what he was going for there. A guy who's 19 just got out of high school and now looking at prison, probation, lifetime sex offender registry, etc. I get these guys are manipulative and self-interested, and this is not real remorse. His chat log was one of the most vile, disgusting, and disturbing ones I've ever read. He tells this 12-year-old girl to get a ruler and measure your slit. Sorry to be so disgusting, but that's what he said, and too many people feel sorry for him. Also, when the 12-year-old wasn't talking to him as much as he wanted, he told her he was going to shoot himself in the head and changed his chat screen name to goodbye with a gun emoji. That's a level of manipulation you rarely see. His chat is the most disgusting thing I've ever read. He's an actor and has been playing this victim part for a long time, I'm sure, but I can spot a liar easy. No tears in his eyes, no mention of the child he intended to molest. The only talk he does is about his troubles and addictions. I'm fat, I can't do anything. Well, I've seen plenty of fat cops, Mr. Ambrosio. The difference is they move their fat asses and do their job because they want to play their part in this society of ours. You don't. And obviously you were pretty motivated to drive 2 hours to meet your 12-year-old date. So sorry, but your boo-hoo-hoo show does not affect me or any other intelligent individual. God, threatening his own life to the decoy, being the same sad sack of shit he was to Chris Hansen and the police, to someone he thinks is a 12-year-old girl, it's just sending me. What does he do if someone fucks with him in prison? Lay down in the fetal position and start sobbing? Ambrosio then claimed that he had never met with an underage girl before and that his bipolar depression had led him to drop out of high school and rely on multiple medications. He even expressed a willingness to try shock therapy to address his issues. Ambrosio also mentioned that his mother was sympathetic towards him and his struggles. Despite Hansen's attempt to show empathy towards Ambrosio's situation, he firmly stated that he could not excuse Ambrosio's explicit conversations with a child. Ambrosio continued to cry and express feelings of hopelessness, even mentioning suicide. Hansen reassured him that there were people outside who could assist him. Hansen made it clear that he had no pleasure in confronting individuals who engage in sexually explicit chats with children, and stated that he has 2 sons of his own. As Hansen attempted to get Ambrosio's jacket, the cameras began to roll and Ambrosio cried in panic. The crying really is like his panic button, and it kind of worked. Chris Hansen didn't air this episode until years later. In 2021, on his podcast, Predators I've Caught, Hansen would later admit that he thought Ambrosio's segment should have aired on True Crime Daily, but the network decided against it due to the depressing subject matter. Well, let's look at Vincent's notable quotes. "You know what? I have nothing to live for anyway. My life's a mess. I failed high school. I have no motivation to finish it. I don't have a job. I'm a fuck-up. It's just this depression. It's so crippling. I just want to die. My life is miserable. I want to be a cop. I wasn't going to do anything. I'm fat. I can't do anything." Talking shit about himself is pretty much his defense mechanism. This guy's so pathetic that Dreading called him the most pathetic predator they've ever covered, and that's fucking saying something. I do recommend that video, by the way. We're going to be looking at some of the comments here. "Oh hey, Vincent Ambrosio. I actually went to school with this guy. He wore the cowboy getup all 4 years of high school, despite living in the suburbs of Poughkeepsie. Pretty sure I know who the one friend he refers to is too, since a friend of a friend was always hanging around with him. Dude was always kind of weird, but I don't think anyone expected he'd pull something like this. Did he get bullied a lot or something? He's got the defeatist mindset of someone going through a midlife crisis. Not that I know of. People thought his cowboy getup was ridiculous, but I don't remember people really hassling him about it. He just kind of kept to himself outside of the one friend of a friend I mentioned. Keep in mind, I didn't really know him all that well though. The closest interactions I had with him were him occasionally joining my friend group's card game before first period Spanish in 10th grade. That one time we both got a ride to the mall from the friend of a friend, and the time we sat close to each other during graduation rehearsal. How did you discover he was on the show? I heard about it from an old high school friend I was catching up with in 2021. We were talking about people we knew growing up, and I mentioned how this guy that didn't graduate with us got arrested the next fall after showing up to school with a stolen car. He hits me with something along the lines of, "Wild how that doesn't even seem serious compared to what Vinny ended up pulling." I asked what he meant and he pulled up the unaired episode on YouTube. Vincent made a plea for the officers arresting him to shoot him, which is pretty in line with his personality so far. I like watching this video because it reminds me that, even at my very lowest, I'm only the second worst fat, depressed, unemployed man with no friends. He did give a whole interview blubbering to the cops as well. There's a few details that have mostly been left out, though. First off, he was talking to two decoys, a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old. Second, they found CP on his phone. So considering all this, his charges ended up being pretty light in my opinion. On November 14th, 2016, Ambrosio was convicted of a downgraded charge of criminal attempted second-degree sexual assault, as well as attempted risk of injury to a minor, enticing a minor in an obscene performance, and third-degree possession of child pornography. As punishment, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison, with a suspension after serving 2.5 years. Additionally, Ambrosio received a 10-year probation sentence and was required to register as a sex offender for 10 years. Yeah, I feel like most of the guys in TCAP had to register for life. He's only upset because he got caught. It's an insult to people who actually have depression and mental health issues. OMG, I don't buy anything he said. His reaction didn't seem to be genuine at all. He was just trying to save his ass. He's another loser. He throws the anxiety and depression card around because everybody apparently suffers from it. He tucked his fupa into those mom jeans and grabbed his grandpa's hat and trench coat from 1940 and felt like a 13-year-old girl would love it. By the way, I didn't know this until I started making the video, but it looks like he's back in jail as we speak. Vincent Ambrosio changed the definition of fuck-up forever. That fat, useless waste of space was nearly done with his probation and fucked it up because he wanted to have some Jack Daniels and use an unapproved device to flex his authority as a Reddit mod. Fat fuck now has to spend 6 months in jail and got his probation extended for 5 years. No wonder he failed high school and didn't have the motivation to finish it. There's a new definition of fuck up, a fat crying Italian. Like Vincent is literally a Reddit mod? That's way too perfect. Look, I had a father who was a fuck up, I get it. Wait, what happened? Explain it to me like I'm 13. He got 10 years probation for his 2015 Hansen vs. Predator arrest. The conditions of his probation prohibited him from alcohol and unmonitored internet access. But they searched his house and found his secret smartphone and laptop, and some liquor. So he goes back to jail for another 6 months, and he gets 5 more years of probation. I know 6 months gets referred to as a slap on the wrist a lot, but it's also actually kind of an annoying amount of time to just lose. Someone shared a YouTube video of his probation violation hearing transcript. Basically, a probation officer showed up for an inspection and found open bottles of Jack Daniels and an unauthorized computer and phone. I think there was something about him admitting to watching porn too. I believe he got a 5-year new sentence, suspended after 6 months, but he's been in since October, so will probably be out by April at latest. Well, it does sound like he'll be out soon, huh? Guy cries his eyes out, has a pity party. Chat log. Take a ruler and measure your slit to see if I can fit inside you. Yeah, I feel like it's not often that Predator's Chris Hansen catches are such obvious virgins. He did admit to the cops that he messed around with another man on his grandpa's bed or something. This guy was a total mess. Looks like Jim Ross. Bah, God, he's got a family, damn it. Do not feel bad for this guy at all. His chat log is one of the most vile in TCAP history. This guy gaslights the decoy over and over and over again, threatening to kill himself if she doesn't reply quickly enough. Him crying here about being fat and a fuck-up is just his way of manipulating people. He wants everyone to feel sorry for him, feel bad for him, and think that it's all their fault he is the way he is. Exactly my thoughts. He was probably coddled his whole life and never once asked to take responsibility. People do keep talking about how young 19 is, and yeah, it is, but it's very old compared to 12. Very old. This is kind of an annoying story because he just did the same crying act he probably has his entire life, and not only did Chris Hansen, or his network, take it easy on him, but the police kind of did too. So it's good to hear his graduating class has become largely aware of what a creep he is. I feel sad for him. Being lonely, feeling worthless, being bipolar, all that is sad to hear. I felt so bad for him. Then I heard the chat log. Talking to someone because you want to talk is one thing, but talking so sexual and shit to a 12-year-old? That is messed up, man. He gets no sympathy from me. He had CP on his phone, too. No matter what your situation is, if you do that with whom you know are children, you're an idiot, a sack of crap, and a miserable little worm. He looks like a chubby 12-year-old whose mother has dressed him for a family function. You don't look stupid, sweetie. You look handsome. I take care of my mom full-time. I got pulled over about 2 months back. It was for a burnt-out light above my plate, but I hadn't known about that yet. All I could think about was my mom, and how if something would happen to me, I wouldn't be there for her. The fact he risked his grandfather's well-being for something that vile. Absolutely sickening. Bro walks in looking like the Undertaker and turns into a depressed high schooler when Chris walks in. Take a look at his chat log. That should cure anyone of their bullshit sympathies for him. Also, have a look into how his parents handled the whole situation as well. Fuck the entire Ambrosio family. Twice. And not the gently kind on Grandpa Ambrosio's bed like Vinny likes. Wait, what did his parents do? His father, the former cop, went berserk. He apparently got on the Temple of TCAP and started shit after he found out the person that at FOIA requested his son's police interrogation video before he got his HVP clip. Because when you request it, your name is attached to it, and apparently went on a crusade after that person. Okay, of course I can't verify a lot of this stuff that people are saying, but I hope you've seen enough that you at least don't feel bad for him, like a lot of people do after seeing the video once. I might be back with more, but that's about all the time I have for you today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you like the video, please give it a like. If you have something to say about Vincent or about my content in general, let me hear it in the comments. I'll be reading them while the video's new. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more of the same. Hopefully I'll be talking about predators more often in the near future. And big thanks to my awesome patrons who help by supporting me more directly over on Patreon. It really helps me not worry about views as much. I'll be back soon with nice guys, I think. Have a great day, everyone, and rejoice that you're less of a loser than this guy I just made the video about.